Welcome back to SmartWatch, where, yeah, we'd have given it to Marshawn Lynch too. Well, the gavel has been dropped on the AWS 3 auction, and the proceeds came in just short of $45 billion.
I ended up at a new 201. I ended up at a new 201.
AT&T, Verizon, and the network-deficient Dish accounted for 85% of total bids.
So what's a company that doesn't have a wireless network doing buying up billions of dollars worth of spectrum? $10 billion worth of spectrum, to be exact.
That's what I want to know.
575. What are you going to do? 6 here.
Airwaves are the new gold, and it looks like Dish and Charlie Ergen are stockpiling for the apocalypse in hopes the value of the new currency continues to rise. That said, Ergen had already said that he's not interested in building out a network or selling his holdings to another carrier.
It's not like Dish could even build a network before the FCC's mandated 40% coverage deadline for its AWS 4 spectrum comes around, and another $10 billion spent on spectrum doesn't leave much budget room for infrastructure.
So what can Dish do? It could lease its spectrum, or maybe it has its sights set on buying its way into the market via a Sprint or T-Mobile acquisition. Not that trying to buy Sprint worked out so well for Dish the last time.
We'll have to wait and see if there's a method to Ergen's madness, but Dish did just sign Univision for Sling TV, so he's clearly on a roll. A little more murky is how AT&T will keep up appearances after spending an ungodly sum in the AWS 3 auction.
At $18 billion in total purchases during the auction, AT&T just dropped on Spectrum the equivalent of its annual capex.
For its trouble, the carrier says it got a near nationwide contiguous 10 by 10 block of spectrum, but also expects to go above its 1.8x net debt to EBITDA target ratio. AT&T plans to use excess cash to pay down the debt over the next 3 years.
Fitch Ratings pointed out that AT&T has $17.3 billion left to pay after a $900 million auction down payment. The carrier owes $2.7 billion by February 13th and the rest by March 2nd.
Fitch says AT&T will likely rely on recent term loan agreements and cash reserves to pay off the spectrum, but AT&T still has a humongous DirecTV merger in the works.
I'm sure AT&T has it under control. Verizon certainly looks like it has its spectrum spending spree already covered. A Wall Street Journal report said the carrier could, as early as this week, announce a $15 billion asset sale, essentially covering its entire AWS 3 bill, and then some.
And Verizon is doing it all while carrying a huge debt load associated with its Vodafone buyout. So it can be done, and life does go on after blowing a ton of money on spectrum.
And even if you don't spend a ton. T-Mobile spent a relatively small $1.8 billion, Sprint skipped the auction so it spent nothing, and US Cellular spent $338 million. So they'll all have money left to spend on next year's 600 megahertz incentive auction.
Yeah, so I guess that takes care of the AWS 3 auction, and everyone is happy, and they're going to get exactly what they paid for. Oh wait, there's a call coming in.
Flip phone chats.
Look, it's FCC Commissioner Ajit Pai. Hey Ajit.
Hey Ben.
I heard you didn't think too highly of the $3 billion discount Dish got in the Spectrum auction.
Actually, I called it a mockery. The designated entity program is supposed to help small businesses, not huge companies like Dish.
Yeah, sure, but it sounds like AT&T, Verizon, and Leap have used the same rules in past auctions.
I wasn't on the commission back then, but now I am, and I'm going to use all my power to stop this from happening again.
All right, go for it, Ajit.
Well, that's all we have for this week. Come back next week when we put 500 head of grade A beef on the auction block.
Down 213, 212 and a half, 13. Y'all in, y'all done. Sold 'em.